An 8-year-old barefoot boy was screaming in the underground garage, while 3 black-armored SUVs sat lined up, ready to carry Chicago's most dangerous man out into the city. Beneath each of them, timers ticked down in perfect silence. The sub-level garage of the River Tower woke long before the rest of Chicago ever stirred. 6 a.m., gray concrete walls, the scent of premium fuel and engine oil hanging thick in the air. 3 matte black Cadillac Escalades formed a flawless row, each one armored like a tank, each one built for war. Drivers already behind the wheel, triple checking routes. Security posted at the elevators. They were all waiting for him. Dominic Rivera walked toward the convoy slowly, deliberately, the way a man moves when time itself bends to his rhythm. Tall, broad-shouldered, charcoal Brioni suit cut sharp enough to draw blood. Hair slicked back. Ice blue eyes that carried only one message: control. Absolute. Merciless. Undisputed. 40 years old. 20 of them spent at the very top of Chicago's food chain. Judges feared him. Tycoons bowed. Politicians whispered his name like a prayer and a curse in the same breath. Dominic Rivera wasn't just powerful. He was a force of nature that rewrote the rules of the city. "Morning, Mr. Rivera," grunted Victor, the head of security, a mountain of an ex-spec ops guy with a jagged scar slicing through his left eye. Dominic didn't answer. He never wasted words. Victor opened the rear door of the center Escalade. The engine purred low, eager. One more moment and the convoy would roll out into the streets for a sit-down with the mayor's people. A $500 million port reconstruction contract, 5 years of work, total control over every crate that moved through the city. Dominic lifted one polished shoe to climb in. That was when the kid burst from behind a concrete pillar, barefoot, ragged t-shirt, hair sticking up like he'd been electrocuted, eyes huge with terror. "Don't start them!" he screamed, arms flailing. "Don't start the cars!" Victor's pistol cleared leather in a heartbeat. 2 guards lunged, drivers froze. Dominic raised one hand. Everything stopped. The boy didn't stop. He stumbled straight toward the middle SUV, tears streaking his face. "There's something ticking under them!" he shrieked. "I heard it! Tick-tock! Tick-tock! Under all of them!" Dead silence. Dominic turned his head slowly and looked at Victor. The big man went pale, but reacted instantly. "Clear the vehicles!" he roared. "Everybody back, now!" Drivers bailed out. Guards retreated to the walls. Victor dropped to his knees, flashlight in hand, and peered under the center Escalade. He went very still. "Mr. Rivera!" His voice came out thick. "We've got something. Metal casing, wires, and a countdown timer." Dominic didn't move. Those ice blue eyes shifted to the boy standing 3 meters away, shaking like a leaf, but refusing to run. "Check the others," Dominic said quietly. 2 more flashlights slid under chassis. "Got one here, too. Same on this one." Victor stood, face carved from stone. 3 devices, sir. Identical. Timers read. He glanced at his watch. 12 minutes. 12 minutes to oblivion. The garage turned into a frozen void. Everyone knew what that number meant. 12 minutes from now, 3 armored Escalades carrying Dominic Rivera would have turned into fireballs somewhere in River North. Spectacular. Public. A message to the entire city. The Rivera Empire was finished. "Call the bomb squad," Dominic said, voice perfectly calm. "Quiet evacuation of the building. No panic. We have time." "Sir, you need to leave the area." Victor stepped closer. "We don't know what kind of yield." "I said we have time," Dominic repeated. Victor clenched his jaw, nodded, and snatched the radio. Dominic walked slowly toward the boy. The barefoot kid stared up at him. Wild dark hair, huge brown eyes burning with something stubborn and fierce. He was trembling head to toe, but he held his ground. "What's your name?" Dominic asked. "Liam," the boy rasped. "Liam Gutierrez." "Liam," Dominic repeated, tasting the word. "You just saved my life." The kid blinked, tears drying on his cheeks. I just heard the noise. Last night. I was waiting for my mom. She cleans offices here. I saw a man messing under the cars, and this morning I heard the ticking and I knew." His voice cracked. Dominic lowered himself to one knee so their eyes were level. "You're a very brave boy, Liam," he said softly, "and very smart. You did the right thing." Liam nodded, wiping his nose on his sleeve. Behind them, boots pounded, 4 bomb techs in heavy suits hauling gear. But Dominic didn't turn. He kept looking at the kid. This child had just changed everything. Someone had breached his fortress, slipped past cameras, motion sensors, armed guards, planted 3 devices right under his cars, in the heart of his empire. And the only person who noticed was an 8-year-old barefoot boy. For the first time in years, Dominic Rivera felt a cold thread of fear. Not for himself. He'd stopped fearing death long ago. But someone had come this close, close enough that tomorrow might not exist. Control might not exist. Someone had broken the rules. And that changed the game. The techs worked fast and quiet. Dominic leaned against a pillar, arms folded, watching. Liam sat on the cold floor beside him, knees pulled to his chest. He'd stopped crying, but the shaking hadn't quit. Victor paced like a caged bear, crushing the radio in his fist. 10 minutes, one of the techs called. Dominic nodded. He looked down at the boy. "Liam," he said quietly. The kid flinched and looked up. "Tell me about last night. Everything you remember, every single detail." Liam swallowed, wiped his nose again, and nodded. "My mom works 10 at night till 6 in the morning. She cleans the offices upstairs. I always wait down here. We can't afford a babysitter, and Mom says our neighborhood's too dangerous to leave me home alone." Dominic just listened. "I was sitting way over there behind that far pillar," Liam pointed, "reading on Mom's phone. Then I heard the freight elevator. I thought it was Mom coming early, but it wasn't the regular one. It was the service elevator, the one only workers use." "What time?" "About 3 a.m., maybe a little after." 3 a.m. guard shift change at 2:30, 30-minute window when eyes were tired. Someone knew the schedule. "I peeked out," Liam continued. "Saw a tall guy, black jacket, baseball cap pulled low. Couldn't really see his face, but I saw a scar." Dominic went still. "A scar?" "Yeah, long white one, all the way down his left cheek, real obvious when he walked past the light." Dominic's heart tightened. Long white scar down the left cheek. He knew only one man with that mark, but that was impossible. "What was he doing?" Dominic asked, voice steady even as ice slid through his veins. "He went to your cars, first one, lay down flat and crawled underneath. I heard a metal click, then the sound of duct tape ripping. Then he slid out and did the same to the second car, and the third." "You didn't yell? Didn't run to security?" Liam dropped his eyes. "I got scared, really scared. I just hid and stayed quiet. Thought maybe he'd see me. Then he left on the same elevator. I figured maybe I imagined it, that he was just a mechanic or something. Mom says I think too much sometimes." Dominic crouched in front of him again. "Liam, listen to me. You didn't imagine anything. You saw a real threat, and you did the right thing telling me. Understand?" The boy nodded, lip trembling. "And this morning when I came down to wait for Mom, I heard it. Tick-tock, tick-tock. Real quiet, but I heard. Got closer and knew it was coming from under the cars. Remembered the guy. Knew something was wrong. Smart, observant, brave. This kid was special." 8 minutes, the tech shouted. Dominic stood and walked to the SUVs. "Talk to me," he said, voice like a blade. The lead tech, a grizzled 50-something ex-Marine with a faded forearm tattoo, crawled out from under the center Escalade, face grim. "Mr. Rivera, these aren't what we thought." "Explain." "They're not bombs." Silence. Victor stepped forward. "What do you mean, not bombs? There are timers." "Timers, yes," the tech nodded, "but not detonators. These are military-grade transmitters, Panther 7 class, recording devices, GPS beacons, all three identical. They track location and broadcast live audio. The timer just triggers self-destruct. 7 minutes from now, these things melt their own circuits. No evidence left. Dominic stood motionless. Not bombs, bugs, trackers. Someone didn't want him dead. Someone wanted to hear every word he said today, everywhere he went, everyone he met. "Can you disable them?" he asked. "I can, but the second I do, whoever planted them knows we found them. Signal dies, they're alerted. And if we leave them? 6.5 minutes from now, they fry themselves. Whoever's listening thinks the plan worked perfectly. You drove off, devices ran their cycle, vanished without a trace." Dominic gave a slow nod. The picture cleared. Someone wanted him to cancel his day, stay inside the building, a building that was probably wired stem to stern. The feds would record every conversation, every order, every call. Then arrest. Beautiful, professional. And it almost worked. Almost. If not for one barefoot 8-year-old boy. Dominic turned to Liam. The kid stared back with wide eyes. "You didn't just save my life, Liam," Dominic said quietly. "You saved everything I've built for 20 years. Liam said nothing, but something ancient flickered in those young eyes, understanding that something huge had just happened in the grown-up world. Dominic straightened and looked at Victor. "Leave the devices. Let them burn themselves out. Cancel evacuation. Everyone back to posts. The mayor's meeting happens on schedule." Victor frowned. "Sir, if this is a trap—" "It's a trap, Victor, but now I see where the jaws are. That means I'm the one holding the spring. Tell the team, we roll exactly as planned." "Yes, sir." Dominic looked back at the boy. "Where's your mom?" 23rd floor, cleaning offices." "Victor, find Maria Gutierrez. Bring her down here, now." "On it." Victor disappeared into the elevator. Dominic sat beside the boy. "Liam, are you afraid of me?" The kid thought about it, then slowly shook his head. "No, Mom says you only have to be afraid of bad people. And you're just big." Dominic's mouth curved, the first hint of a smile all morning. "Big," he echoed. "I like that." Liam gave a tiny smile back. Behind them, the three devices ticked away the final minutes of their short lives. Maria Gutierrez burst out of the elevator 3 minutes later, bucket and mop still in her hands, face ghost white. Victor and another guard right behind her. "Liam!" she cried, dropping everything and running. Dominic stepped aside. She fell to her knees and grabbed her son by the shoulders. "What happened? What are you doing down here? Victor said that you—" Words failed. She crushed him to her chest. Liam wrapped his arms around her neck. "It's okay, Mom," he mumbled into her shirt. "I just helped, that's all." "Helped?" Her voice cracked with tears and panic. "There are men with guns. What were you—" "Mrs. Gutierrez." Dominic's voice was quiet, but it cut through the garage like a blade. Maria looked up and froze. For the first time in years, the ice in Dominic's eyes cracked. She was breathtaking, not magazine cover perfect, real. Dark hair pulled into a messy ponytail, no makeup, old t-shirt and jeans, yellow rubber gloves still on. But those warm brown eyes, full of strength, pride, and bone-deep exhaustion, looked straight at him, and something inside Dominic shifted. She stood, keeping Liam tight against her side, chin high, back straight, proud. "What is going on?" she asked, voice shaking but steady. "Why is my son crying?" "Your son just saved my life," Dominic said simply. Maria blinked. "What?" "3 devices were planted under my vehicles. Liam saw the man who did it and warned me this morning. Because of him, I didn't get into a car that could have been my grave." Maria couldn't speak. Then another figure waddled out from behind a pillar. Short, fat, 50-something, cheap, rumpled suit. Balding. Red-faced with tiny, angry eyes. Ronald Clark, manager of the cleaning company that serviced River Tower. "Gutierrez!" he bellowed, waving his arms. "What the hell is this circus? Your snot-nosed brat scared everybody half to death. I told you, no kids at work." Maria flinched but didn't back down. "Mr. Clark, Shut your mouth," he snarled, stepping into her space. "Because of you, this whole building almost blew up. Because of your little street rat, you're fired, you hear me? Fired!" He jabbed a finger into her chest. Liam clung tighter to his mom's shirt. Maria clenched her teeth. "Mr. Clark, Liam didn't do anything wrong." "I don't care!" Clark leaned in until their faces almost touched. "You and your little bass—" He never finished. Dominic's hand shot out, closed around the back of Clark's neck, and spun him around like a rag doll. Clark squeaked. Dominic lifted him clear off the ground with one hand, fingers tightening slowly. Ice blue eyes bored into terrified, piggish ones. "Repeat that," Dominic whispered. "What you just called her son." Repeat it!" Clark choked, legs kicking, hands clawing at Dominic's wrist. I'm sorry, I didn't mean it." Dominic flung him to the concrete. Clark hit hard, coughing and wheezing. "Victor," Dominic said without turning. "Yes, sir." "This man no longer works in my building. Make sure he never sets foot here again. And tell HR. Maria Gutierrez is now personal facilities assistant. Triple the salary. 9 to 5 hours. Full benefits." Silence. Maria's mouth hung open. Clark whimpered on the floor. Victor nodded. "Understood, Mr. Rivera." 2 guards hauled Clark up by the armpits and dragged him away. He didn't fight, just sobbed and muttered. Dominic turned to Maria. She stood clutching her son, tears rolling down her cheeks. But she wasn't collapsing. She stared at him in stunned gratitude. I can't accept this," she whispered. "I'm just a cleaner. I'm not—" "You're the mother of a hero," Dominic cut in, "and a woman who works nights to feed her child. That deserves respect. Take the job. For Liam." She bit her lip, looked down at her son. Liam looked up at her with pure hope in his eyes, the kind no mother can refuse. "Okay," she breathed. "Thank you. Thank you so much." Dominic nodded. Behind him came 3 soft pops, one after another. The devices self-destructed. The game went on. But now Dominic knew who was hunting him, and the scariest part, the hunter used to be his friend. The 42nd floor conference room was flooded with morning light. Floor-to-ceiling windows looked out over the Chicago River and the waking skyline. The city yawned and stretched far below, but up here, 150 meters above the streets, there was only silence. Dominic sat at the head of the long ebony table. Laptop, tablet, untouched espresso in front of him. Victor at the door, arms crossed. 3 private security techs dissected the melted remains of the devices on a steel tray. The lead tech, tall, mid-30s, thin wire-rim glasses, looked up. "Mr. Rivera, analysis complete. Talk. Professional work. Panther 7 transmitters. Special forces grade. Live audio, GPS accurate to 3 meters. 5-kilometer range in urban environments. Data streamed in real time. Only 3 manufacturers worldwide. All sell exclusively to government agencies. FBI, CIA, NSA, military." Dominic nodded slowly. "So the feds." "Looks that way, sir, but the self-destruct timer is a custom mod. Factory Panther 7s don't have that. Someone with serious skills and access to source code added it." "Meaning an active tech, or an ex-employee." "Exactly." Dominic leaned back. Fingers drummed the armrest. Ex-employee, man with the scar, Alexis Cordero. 14 years ago, Alexis had been his right hand, his brother. They built the empire side by side, fought wars, ruled half the Great Lakes ports together. Then Alexis betrayed him. Dominic still remembered the night. South Side warehouse, deal with Mexican suppliers. Alexis was supposed to have his back. Instead, he brought the feds. Gunfight. 3 of Dominic's men dead. Dominic barely escaped. They grabbed Alexis a week later. Dominic should have, Put him in the ground. That was the rule. But he didn't. Because Alexis once saved his life in Detroit in '03. Because brotherhood doesn't die easy. Dominic handed him to the feds instead. Witness protection, new name, new life, new family on the other side of the country. 14 years of silence. Until today. Mr. Rivera? Victor's voice pulled him back. Yes? Should I start hunting the guy with the scar? Dominic met his eyes for a long moment. No, he said quietly. I already know who it is. Victor's brow creased. You know? Alexis Cordero. The room went cold. Victor paled. The techs exchanged glances. Everyone in Dominic's inner circle knew that name. Legend. Traitor. The man who once stood at the king's right hand and tried to cut the throne out from under him. But he's in witness protection. He didn't just come back, Victor. He's working for them now. The same feds he flipped for. They've got him on a leash. And today he tried to finish what he started 14 years ago. What do you want to do? Dominic stood and walked to the window, looked down at his city, Chicago, his empire. 20 years building it. 20 years owning every street, every contract, every dollar that flowed through the ports and the construction sites. His hands weren't clean. He knew that. But he never preyed on the weak, never touched kids, never crushed people just trying to survive. He had rules. Alexis used to follow those rules too. Now he served people who had none. Victor, what time is it? 8:37, sir. Mayor's meeting at 10. We're going. Sir, if this is a trap, it is a trap, but I see it now, and I know how to walk around it. Prep 3 decoy convoys on the primary route. You and I take an unmarked car through West Loop. No escort. Victor clenched his jaw but nodded. Yes, sir. Dominic turned to the techs. Sweep the entire building, every floor, every office. I want to know if there's any more surveillance. And find me everything on Alexis Cordero. Current location, current name, family, all of it. On it, Mr. Rivera. They packed up and left. Dominic and Victor were alone. Sir, Victor said quietly, if Alexis is back, the feds are playing for keeps. They wouldn't pull him out of protection unless they were sure they could finally bury you. I know. Then why not cancel? Go dark for a month until the heat dies? Dominic turned. His ice blue stare pinned Victor to the wall. Because the second I run, Victor, I lose. Fear is a weapon. If I show even a flicker of it, every wolf I've kept leashed for 20 years smells blood. The feds won't be the ones who end me. My own people will. Victor nodded slowly. Understood. Good. Wheels up in 1 hour. Victor left. Dominic looked out at the city again. Somewhere down there, among millions, Alexis was watching the clock, waiting for confirmation that the plan worked, that Dominic Rivera was cornered inside a wired building. But that signal would never come, because an 8-year-old boy changed the board, and now Dominic would play by his own rules. The penthouse took up the entire 52nd floor. Maria stood in the middle of the vast living room, panoramic windows everywhere, unable to believe this was real. White leather couches, marble floors, art on the walls worth more than she'd earned in a lifetime, a kitchen bigger than their entire apartment on the south side. Liam clung to her leg, equally stunned. Mrs. Gutierrez, Victor said from the doorway, Mr. Rivera asked me to tell you that you and your son can stay here as long as necessary. It's safer than your neighborhood, at least until things calm down. Maria swallowed hard. I can't. This is too much. I can't accept. Mr. Rivera insists. She looked down at Liam, exhaustion written all over his little face. He hadn't slept, had lived through more terror in one morning than most adults see in years. She couldn't say no, not for her, for him. Okay, she whispered. Thank you. We'll stay. Just for tonight. Victor nodded and left. Maria sank onto the couch. Liam crawled into her lap. Mom, he whispered, it's like a movie. She laughed through fresh tears and held him tight. Yeah, baby, just like a movie. But deep down, she knew this wasn't a movie. This was real life, and real life was far more dangerous. She'd seen the way Dominic Rivera's hand closed around Ronald Clark's throat, seen the Arctic cold in those blue eyes, seen how everyone froze at a single glance from him. The man was lethal, yet he had protected her, protected Liam, given her a future when he could have tossed them out like trash. Who was he, really? Monster? Or a man whose heart had simply learned to hide behind armor? She didn't know, and that scared her. Dominic walked into the penthouse at 8 that night. The mayor meeting had gone perfectly, contract signed. The feds, if they were waiting on the main route, waited for ghosts. The decoy plan worked like clockwork. He stepped into the living room and stopped. Maria sat on the couch, laptop balanced on her knees, brow furrowed in concentration as she typed. Liam was curled beside her, fast asleep, hugging a throw pillow like a teddy bear. Dominic stayed in the doorway, not wanting to break the moment. She looked up, startled. I'm sorry. I didn't hear you come in. Don't apologize, he said softly, mindful of the sleeping boy. You belong here. Maria closed the laptop and stood, smoothing her jeans. Liam fell asleep an hour ago. I wanted to carry him to a bedroom, but I was afraid I wouldn't hear if something happened. He's safe, Dominic said. There's security 24/7. No one gets up here without my say-so. She nodded, but worry still lived in her eyes. Mr. Rivera, she began quietly, I have to ask, the man, the one Liam saw, do you know who he is? Dominic walked to the window, looked out at the night city, lights sprawling to the horizon like fallen stars. Yes, he said simply, I do. And, are you going to do something about him? He turned to her. Mrs. Gutierrez, the less you know, the safer you and your son will be. She wrung her hands. I understand, but Liam saw his face. If that man finds out, Liam can identify him. The question hung heavy. Dominic gave a slow nod. It's possible. Maria went white. Then my son is in danger? Dominic stepped closer, stopped a meter away, looked her dead in the eyes. Not while he's under my protection. I promise you, Maria, no one will touch your son. No one. She searched his face, and slowly something like trust kindled in her warm brown eyes. Why are you doing this? She whispered. Why help us? We're nothing to you. Just a cleaner and her kid. Dominic didn't answer right away. He'd asked himself the same question all day. Why the rage at Clark's words? Why the job offer? Why bring them here, into the one place he never let outsiders enter? The answer was simple, because in her eyes he saw something he'd lost long ago. Honesty, strength, purity. She worked nights to feed her child, never begged, never complained, just did what had to be done, and that was beautiful. Because your son reminded me, he said quietly, that good people still exist, people who do the right thing without expecting anything back. Maria blinked. Tears glistened. Thank you, she breathed. Thank you. Dominic only nodded. He turned to leave. Mr. Rivera, she called softly. He stopped. Liam told me about the man, the scar, long, down his cheek. He said you went pale the second he described it. Dominic didn't turn around. Yeah, you knew him. Before. Yeah, he was your friend. Silence. Dominic gave a slow nod. Once. A long time ago. Maria said nothing. She just stood there, arms wrapped around herself. Dominic walked out of the living room, but in the hallway he paused, leaned against the wall and closed his eyes. Alexis. Brother. Traitor. Ghost from the past. For 14 years, Dominic had told himself he'd let it go, that he'd forgiven. But the moment Liam described that scar, it all came rushing back. The pain, the rage, the betrayal that still burned like acid. Alexis was back, and this time he hadn't just betrayed him. He'd put innocence in the crossfire, a child, a woman. That crossed a line. Dominic opened his eyes, pulled out his phone, dialed. Victor, find him. Find Alexis Cordero. You have 48 hours. He hung up. The game had just moved to a whole new level. Dominic didn't sleep that night. He sat in his office on the 52nd floor, 3 monitors glowing, dissecting every detail. 2 weeks of security footage, building access logs, financial reports, contracts, anything that might reveal how the feds planned to bring him down. Because he knew Alexis wasn't working alone. This was an operation, coordinated, professional, and it wasn't over. At 4 a.m., the phone rang. Mr. Rivera, it's Malcolm. Malcolm Grace, Illinois State Police detective. Old friend, one of the few badges Dominic still trusted. I'm listening, Malcolm. We've got a big problem. Word just came down from the top. FBI filed for an arrest warrant on you. Money laundering, corruption, racketeering, undue influence on city contracts. The list is long. They're coming for you today, at the investor lunch. Dominic leaned back in his chair. What evidence? Wiretaps, financial docs, witness statements. It looks airtight, Dom. Too airtight. Meaning fabricated. That's my read. Doesn't matter. Warrant gets signed in 2 hours. By noon, they'll take you. Publicly. Cameras rolling. Dominic nodded slowly, even alone in the dark office. The plan crystallized. They didn't just want him in cuffs. They wanted him humiliated. Wanted the whole city to see Dominic Rivera dragged out like a common criminal. Empire built on lies. Public arrest. Headlines. Spectacle. Beautiful. Almost inevitable. Almost. Malcolm, one question. Do you trust me? A beat. Yeah, Dom, or I wouldn't be calling you at 4 a.m, risking my career. Good. In 1 hour, I'm sending you files. Recordings, video, documents, 5 years' worth. Names, FBI agents on the take. Prosecutors who bury cases for cash. Judges who rule the right way for the right price. Half the feds in Chicago are dirty, and it's all documented. Silence on the line. Dom, you know what this means if you release it. It means I'm declaring war, Malcolm. But they didn't leave me a choice. What do you want me to do with it? Get it to the state attorney general, bypass the feds. I want it public at noon, exactly when they come for me. Malcolm exhaled hard. You sure? Dead sure. I'll do it. But Dom, be careful. If this backfires, you're finished. I know. He hung up. Stood. Walked to the window. The city was waking. First rays of sun painted the skyscrapers gold and rose. The river below shimmered like molten metal. Dominic had lived in this city his whole life. Born in the South Side projects, raised in poverty, watched his mother work 3 jobs to feed him and his sister, watched his father drink himself into the grave. He'd sworn he'd never be powerless again. He built, he fought, he rose, step by step, year by year, and became what he became, King of Chicago. But kings are always alone. He thought of Maria's face, her proud, strong eyes, thought of Liam's shy smile last night as he fell asleep on the couch. For the first time in years, Dominic felt he had something bigger than an empire to protect. He had people. He went back to the desk, opened an encrypted folder. 5 years of work, thousands of hours of recordings, documents, photos, testimony, everything that could burn down the corrupt machine trying to bury him. He copied it to a secure drive, sent it to Malcolm, then dialed again. Victor, round everybody up. 1 hour. War room. We have a plan. He hung up, smiled, for the first time in a long time. The game was just getting started. Liam woke up in the softest bed he'd ever slept in. He blinked, confused for a few seconds. Huge room, white walls, floor-to-ceiling window looking out over the city, morning sun pouring in gold. Then he remembered. Yesterday morning. The ticking under the cars, the terror, the yelling. Mom, Mr. Rivera. He bolted upright. On the nightstand was a note. Liam, I'm in the kitchen. Breakfast is ready. Mom. He flew out of bed and ran. The kitchen was massive. Mom stood at the stove stirring something. She turned, saw him, and smiled. "Morning, baby." "Mom!" Liam crashed into her, hugging her waist. "This is all real? We're really here?" "Yeah, sweetheart, it's real." She ruffled his hair. "Go wash up. I made your favorite pancakes." Liam raced to the bathroom, washed his face, raced back. A plate waited. Stack of pancakes, syrup, fresh berries. He ate like he'd never seen food before. "Mom, these are amazing," Maria laughed. "Glad you like them." The door opened and Dominic walked in. Liam froze mid-bite. Dominic was in sweatpants and a t-shirt, no suit, no icy mask. He looked normal, almost human. "Morning," Dominic said. "Good morning, Mr. Rivera," Maria answered quietly. "Just Dominic. We're not at the office." She nodded, cheeks pink. Dominic poured coffee and sat across from Liam. "Liam, I need to ask you something important. Can you answer honestly?" Liam nodded, mouth full. "Course." "Are you still afraid of that man? The one you saw?" Liam thought about it, then shook his head. "No, I was scared then, but not now. You said you'd protect us, and I believe you." Dominic just looked at him for a long moment. This kid trusted him. Completely. No angle. It felt strange. Dominic couldn't remember the last time someone trusted him without wanting something in return. But Liam was pure. "You're a very brave kid, Liam," Dominic said softly. "You know what makes someone brave instead of cowardly?" Liam shook his head. "A coward runs when he's scared. A brave person does the right thing even when he is scared. You did the right thing. And you saved a lot of lives. Not just mine." Liam blushed and grinned shyly. "Thanks." Maria stood at the stove listening, tears in her eyes. She watched this dangerous man the whole city whispered about talk to her son. Gentle, sincere, like a father. Something tight in her chest loosened. Dominic stood. "I've got to go. Business. You two stay here. Victor's on call if you need anything. And Maria." She looked up. "Thanks for breakfast." He left. Maria pressed a hand to her heart. Liam looked at her. "Mom, he's good, right?" Maria nodded slowly. "Yeah, baby, I think he really is." That evening, Dominic came back late. Investor meetings, lawyers, prep for tomorrow. He walked into the penthouse and found Liam and Maria on the couch watching a movie. Liam jumped up. "Dominic, look, we found The Lion King, my favorite." Dominic couldn't help smiling. Solid choice. "Want to watch with us?" Liam asked. Dominic froze. When was the last time he'd watched a movie just because? He couldn't remember. "Liam, Dominic's tired," Maria started. "It's fine," Dominic said. "I'll watch." He sat. Liam wedged himself happily between them. They watched. Liam laughed at Timon and Pumbaa. Maria smiled quietly, and Dominic just sat there feeling something warm spread through his chest. He couldn't remember the last time he'd felt human. Not a king, not a boss, not a name that made people flinch. Just a man. Liam fell asleep before the end. Maria gently carried him to bed. Dominic stayed on the couch. She came back a few minutes later and sat across from him. "Thank you," she said quietly, "for today, for everything." "Don't thank me," Dominic said. "I'm just doing what's right." "You're a good man." He looked at her. "Not many people think so. Because they don't see you the way I do, with Liam here. You're not a monster, Dominic. You just built walls to survive the world." He was quiet. She was right. And that scared him more than anything. The next day at 10 p.m., Dominic's phone buzzed. Unknown number. He answered. Dominic. The voice on the other end was so familiar, his heart clenched. "Hey, old friend." "Alexis." Dominic listened in silence. "I know you're looking for me. I want to talk. Face to face. Like old times. Roof of River Tower. 1 hour. Come alone." Click. Dominic lowered the phone slowly. Victor was beside him. Mr. Rivera? Alexis wants a meeting. Roof. 1 hour. It's a trap. I know. Then why go? Dominic looked at him. Because 14 years ago, I let him live, Victor. I thought I was being merciful, but now I realize I was just weak. Time to finish what I started. Victor's jaw tightened. I'm coming with you. No, I go alone, but you'll be on comms. 10 minutes, no signal from me. Execute Plan B. Victor nodded. The roof of River Tower was empty, windy, bathed in moonlight. Dominic stepped through the door and saw the silhouette at the parapet. Alexis Cordero stood with his back to him. Tall, broad, dark jacket, baseball cap low. Dominic walked forward slowly. Alexis turned, and there it was, the scar. Long, white, down the left cheek. They stared at each other. 14 years. You got old, Alexis said, voice rough, tired. You too, Dominic replied. Alexis gave a broken smile. Didn't think we'd see each other again. Me neither. Silence. Wind whipped their hair. Why'd you come back, Alexis? Dominic asked quietly. You had a new life, a family. Why do this? Alexis turned away, looked out over the city. Because they didn't give me a choice, Dom. The feds found me 3 months ago, said either I help them take you down or they take my family, my wife, my 2 little girls. They showed me photos, my oldest walking to school, my youngest on the playground, said one word from me, and they disappear forever. Dominic nodded slowly. So you agreed. What the hell was I supposed to do? Alexis spun, eyes wild. You don't get it. I have people I love now. I couldn't lose them. So you decided to betray me again. Alexis clenched his teeth. I didn't want to. I swear, Dom, I didn't want to. But I had no choice. There's always a choice, Alexis. Always. You just took the easy one, like 14 years ago. Alexis stepped closer, eyes blazing. Easy? You think any of this was easy? I've carried this guilt for 14 years. Every morning I woke up remembering I sold you out, that you gave me a chance and I... His voice cracked. Dominic watched him, calm. You thought you'd won. Thought the feds would grab me today. That the bugs under my cars would do their job and you'd keep your family safe while I rotted in a cell. Alexis said nothing. But you didn't count on the kid, Dominic continued. An 8-year-old boy broke your whole plan, Alexis, and now you're here, and you don't know what to do. Alexis dropped his gaze. What do you want from me, Dom? The truth. Who's running the op? Who in the bureau wants me this bad? Alexis looked up. Special Agent Marcus Hall. He's been obsessed with you for 5 years. Thinks you're the key to cleaning up Chicago. He won't stop. Dominic nodded. Marcus Hall. I know the name. He's clean, Dom. No skeletons. You can't buy him. Can't scare him. He'll go all the way. Maybe, Dominic said, but so will I. He lifted his phone, pressed a button. A bright red laser dot appeared on Alexis's chest from the rooftop across the street. Alexis froze. What the hell? Insurance, Dominic said calmly. Sniper. 1 shot and you're gone. But I don't want you dead, Alexis. I want to give you a choice. What choice? Dominic stepped closer. For 5 years, I've been collecting proof of corruption inside the Bureau. Every bug you planted in my cars, I reprogrammed. They didn't record me. They recorded feds taking bribes, planning illegal ops. All of it is with the state attorney general right now. In 1 hour, it goes public. Alexis went white. What did you do? I protected my empire, my family, the people I love. Same thing you tried to do, only I don't sell out brothers to do it. Sirens wailed below. Alexis looked down, dozens of state police cruisers surrounding the building. What's happening? He whispered. The feds who threatened your family are being arrested right now, Marcus Hall included. The op against me is dead, And you have a choice, Alexis. Turn yourself in to state police, testify against the dirty agents. Your family stays safe. You'll get time, but light. Probation. You go home to your girls, or? Dominic met his eyes. Or you run, and the sniper finishes it, and your daughters grow up without a father. Alexis stood trembling. Tears ran down his face. I never wanted. I swear, Dom. I know, Dominic said quietly, but that doesn't change what you did. You chose, again, and you chose wrong again. Alexis sank to his knees, cried like a child, for the first time in 14 years. I'm sorry, he sobbed. Forgive me. Dominic looked down at the man he once called brother and felt nothing but emptiness. I can't forgive you, Alexis, but I can give you one last chance. For your daughters, turn yourself in and live. Alexis nodded, broken, slowly stood, hands above his head. The roof door burst open. State detectives swarmed. Cuffs clicked on Alexis's wrists. They led him away. Dominic stayed alone on the roof, wind in his hair, the city glittering below. He'd won, but there was no joy in it, only exhaustion. When Dominic walked back into the penthouse, it was past midnight. He expected everyone asleep, but Maria was on the couch, alone, cup of tea in her hands. She looked up, stood. Dominic, what happened? I heard sirens. The whole city. It's over, he said simply. The feds are done. They're no threat. Not to me. Not to you. Maria stared, wide-eyed. You mean we're safe? Yes. She let out a shaky breath. Tears spilled. Thank you, she whispered. Thank you. Dominic stepped closer, stopped in front of her. Maria, I need to tell you something. She looked up. For 20 years, I built an empire, controlled a city, thought power was all I needed, respect, control. But the last 2 days, I realized I was wrong. What do you mean? I realized power is empty if there's no one to share it with. An empire is just walls if there's no one to make it a home. You and Liam, you reminded me what it feels like to be human. Not a businessman, not a king, just a man. Tears rolled down Maria's cheeks. I'm not asking for an answer tonight, he continued, but I want you to stay, not as an employee, not as a guest, as family. I want to give Liam an education, a future, give you safety, if you'll let me. Maria looked at him through tears. Why? She whispered. Why do this for us? Dominic lifted a hand, gently touched her cheek. Because for the first time in 20 years, Maria, I met a woman I want to be better for. A woman who isn't afraid of me, doesn't flatter me, just sees me, and still doesn't look away. Maria closed her eyes, tears falling harder. I never thought this was possible, she whispered, that someone like you could be kind. I never thought I could feel again, he said, but you and Liam changed that. She opened her eyes. We'll stay, she whispered. If you want us, we'll stay. Dominic nodded slowly, leaned in, kissed her, soft, careful, like she might break. She kissed him back, and in that moment, Dominic Rivera, the most powerful man in Chicago, king of shadows and empires, finally found what he'd been searching for his whole life: home. 3 months later, Liam sprinted down the hall of Lincoln Academy with a huge grin. Mom, look, I got an A in math. Maria stood at the entrance laughing as her son slammed into her, waving his paper. That's my boy, I'm so proud of you. Liam was glowing. In 3 months, his world had flipped. New school, new friends, new home in River Tower where every morning smelled like fresh pancakes and every night they watched movies together. And Dominic, who taught him chess, helped with homework, told stories about the city and never once raised his voice. Liam didn't call him Dad yet, but in his heart he already did. Maria took his hand and they walked out. The black Escalade waited. Victor opened the door. Afternoon, Mrs. Gutierrez. Liam. Hi, Victor. Liam waved. They climbed in and headed home. That evening, the whole family gathered on the penthouse terrace. Dominic stood at the railing looking over the city. Maria sat on the couch, wrapped in a blanket. Liam played with Lego on the rug. Sunset painted the sky orange and pink. The Chicago River shimmered below like liquid gold. "Dad," Liam called. Dominic turned. His heart stopped. First time. "Yeah, Liam. Can you help me with this piece? It won't fit." Dominic walked over, knelt beside the boy. Together they clicked the Lego into place. Maria watched them, smiling through tears. Her life had changed too. No more night shifts, no more fear of tomorrow, no more flinching at every knock. She was safe. They were safe. All three of them. When Liam finally fell asleep, Dominic carried him to bed, tucked him in, kissed his forehead. "Night, son," he whispered. The word felt right. Son. He came back to the terrace. Maria stood at the railing watching the city. Dominic walked up behind her, wrapped his arms around her. "What are you thinking about?" She leaned back into him. "That 3 months ago I was a cleaner barely making rent, and now I'm standing on top of the world in the arms of the man everyone's terrified of, and I'm the happiest woman alive." Dominic kissed her temple. "I never believed in fate, Maria. Always thought you make your own life. But now I think Liam showed up in that garage for a reason. He was meant to save me, not just from bombs, from emptiness." She turned in his arms, looked up at him. "You saved us, Dominic, gave us a future." "No," he shook his head. "You saved me. Gave me a reason to be better, a reason to protect something more than an empire, to protect a family." They stood wrapped together, watching the city. Down below Chicago lived its millions of lives, but up here on the roof of River Tower, there were only 3. A boy who saved a king, a woman who taught him how to love, and a man who finally found home. 6 months later, the Illinois courtroom was packed. Alexis Cordero sat in the defendant's chair, gaunt, older, but alive. His lawyer read the sentence. In light of full cooperation with the investigation and complete admission of guilt, the defendant Alexis Cordero is sentenced to 3 years probation, to remain within state lines and report weekly. Alexis exhaled like he'd been holding his breath for years. 3 years probation. He could go home to his girls. He looked into the gallery. Last row, Dominic. Their eyes met. Alexis gave a small nod. Dominic nodded back. Forgiveness. Not total, not absolute, but enough to move on. Alexis stood and walked out. Dominic stayed seated. Malcolm Grace slid in beside him. "You gave him a chance, Dom. I gave him what he once gave me. Life. Nothing more. You've changed." Dominic looked at him. "People change, Malcolm, when they find something worth changing for." He stood and left the courtroom. 1 year later, the wedding was small. Just the people who mattered. Victor, Malcolm, a handful of Maria's friends, and Liam carrying the rings, beaming like the sun. They married on the River Tower terrace at sunset, city lights flickering on below. Maria wore a simple white dress, nothing fancy, just beautiful, real. Dominic looked at her, and the ice in his eyes melted into something warm. When the officiant said, "You may kiss the bride," Dominic kissed her like she was made of glass. Liam clapped wildly, Victor grinned, guests cheered, and Dominic Rivera, the most powerful man in Chicago, held the woman who had changed everything. For the first time in 40 years, he was truly happy. Epilogue. 5 years later, Liam Gutierrez Rivera, 13 years old, stood on the school auditorium stage clutching a medal. First place in the citywide math competition, Liam Gutierrez Rivera. The auditorium exploded. Front row, Maria and Dominic. Maria crying happy tears, Dominic smiling, wide, genuine. Beside them sat a little 4-year-old girl with dark curls and ice blue eyes, Isabella, their daughter. She clapped her tiny hands and yelled, "Liam! Liam!" Liam bounded down the steps and hugged his parents. "I did it, Mom. Dad, I did it." "We always knew you would," Maria said, kissing his cheek. Dominic put a hand on his son's shoulder. "I'm proud of you, Liam. So proud." Liam grinned, then bent down and scooped Isabella into his arms. "You're gonna be this smart too, Bella. Promise." The little girl giggled and threw her arms around her big brother's neck. They walked out of the school together, a family, real,